meeting to order at 6:31 p.m., Monday, July 12, 2021. If during the course of the meeting, any discussion of any item on the agenda should be held in executive or closed session, the board will convene in such executive or closed session in accordance with the Open Meetings Act, Section 551.001, Expenditures, Texas Revised Civil Statutes. Pursuant to Governor Abbott's temporary suspension of open meetings laws issued on March 16, 2020, and subsequent orders related to COVID-19 and limiting congregations of persons, the board will live stream their meetings so that members of the public may virtually attend the meeting. An electronic copy of the agenda may be viewed at the Dilley ISD website. Public comments should have been submitted as stated on the agenda and will be read aloud during the public comment portion of the board meeting. The open portions of this meeting will be recorded and made available to the public upon request. The subjects to be discussed or considered or upon which any formal action may be taken are listed below. Items do not have to be taken in the same order as shown on this meeting notice. For more information about public comments, see Board Policy BED. If during the course of the meeting, any discussion of any item on the agenda should be held in executive or closed session, the board will convene in such executive or closed session in accordance with the Open Meetings Act, Section 551.001, Expenditures, Texas Revised Civil Statutes. At this time, members present, we have J.P. Rodriguez, Ray Aranda, Frank Torres, Aida Chapa, Kay Smith, Renee Alvarez. Members absent, Ms. Juanita Alvarez. And Dr. Castro, would you, sir, please do the honors?
Yes, ma'am. Madam President, members of the board. Invocation. Lord, I ask you to inspire all of our educators to be your shining light in our schools by being role models and mentors for the younger generations. I pray for our teachers to have the wisdom, knowledge, skills, passion, and compassion to teach our students and make their classrooms places where students learn not only knowledge, but also morality, integrity, work ethic, and kindness. I pray that our teachers and school administrative leaders would fear you, Lord, and understand that we have a great responsibility as we train our nation's future leaders. Holy Spirit, fill the lives of our teachers with your presence, and by their shining examples, I ask you to draw young people to your will and destiny for their lives. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pledge to the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
This time we have no audience comments, so we'll go into our Summer Academy debrief under communication.
Yes, ma'am. Madam President, members of the board, we have a relatively light agenda this evening. Thank you for joining us. We'll begin the top of the meeting with our principals giving you just a brief oral presentation on Summer Academy and lessons learned. We'll begin with elementary and then proceed to high school. Mr. Martinez?
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, and Dr. Castro. It's my pleasure here this evening to be able to speak with you about our Summer Academy. We'll say, earlier this school year, when we embarked on the new vision of summer school, be honest, we were a little bit nervous. We were a little bit scared because we had never done something like this before. And what we were trying to do was have a different outlook on summer school and what it could be. After having gone through the Summer Academy, I can honestly say it was a wonderful experience and something that I think our students and staff will be able to share and really have a positive light, because we haven't ever done summer school like this, And some of the things that were resonating with me, I think are going to be some things that we can build on and expand on in the future to make this not just a one-year thing, but multiple years. And we can build on this one. So just a little bit of information about the elementary. Our students attending, I was very, very proud of our students attended. Our highest morning, which we were doing the academics, so them to receive reading and math instruction, our highest morning total was 139 students. 139 students. That has never happened at the elementary during my tenure for summer school. So I'm very proud of that fact. The highest afternoon total that we had for enrichment, so many of those students that were doing the academics in the morning, they stayed and they continued to doing the enrichment activities in the afternoon. 175 students were able to have the opportunity to do something fun, do something engaging, do something that they were going to be able to have a good time doing. So the average for the morning, 127 students. So on an average day, we were still averaging 127 students, which is still a very good number. And then the afternoon average, 167. So when we look at our highest number, 175, and our average was 167, our students were showing up. Our students were coming, and our students were able to take part and participate. The other thing I'm very, very proud about is our staff members. So when we started Summer Academy, we tried to be able to give our staff a vision of what the Summer Academy was going to look like, not knowing fully all of the details, not knowing all of the things that were going to be laid ahead of us. And we took a leap of faith with our staff, and they were able to take that leap of faith with us. So I'm proud to say at the elementary, 13 teachers had committed to be able to do Summer Academy, and all 13 stayed with me all the step of the way, and they were able to start and finish. Another 6 paraprofessionals started the journey, and 6 completed Summer Academy as well. We had 1 front office staff member that was able to assist and 1 district nurse. So when we really do the totals, 21 people took time out of their lives after what was a very difficult year and continued to work and continued to serve our campus and our community and our students. So again, I'm very, very proud of the numbers that we had turn out from the staff side as well. So some of the positives. It was very refreshing to have the students come in motivated to be able to do their work and to be able to do the enrichment activities. Now, I will admit, some of them really looked forward to the enrichment activities, so that was very appealing to them, which is fine. They knew that they were going to get a chance to do something fun, but they also had a chance to do some learning in the morning as well. So the staff also, when it came down to it, it wasn't something that the staff were coming in late constantly or just barely making it into work. No, they kept an upbeat spirit. They were positive. They were able to maintain that, and they were able to have, from the very beginning to the very end, a high energy. And I very much appreciate that for that. Another positive that we had, we were fortunate enough to be able to have an enrichment rotation that was built on Legos. Legos on the surface might be something that young children enjoy doing, which they do, but it can also be very fun and engaging, and it opens the door to be able to have a lot of creative and critical thinking skills that can develop by just being able to do creative things with Legos. So one of the things that we were able to set up for our children is that we were able to set up a field trip to Legoland Discovery in San Antonio. And proud to say that we took 166 students to Legoland. We took about another 24, 25. We did have some chaperones that were able to help assist us with the students in San Antonio. So we had a fantastic time. Now, I will say our students were near perfect. They're kids. We're going to have some that we need to talk to every now and again, but near perfect. And I was very, very proud because they did a good job representing not only our campus, but our district, our community. And before that, we had an opportunity to load the bus. That was a message that we had a chance to be able to tell them, because some of them were going for a field trip for the very first time. It's been a long time since we had a chance to be able to do field trips. So they responded very, very well. Our staff responded very, very well. At different points, whenever we were at the field trip, you can see just staff members just counting. How many kids do I have? How many kids do I have in my group? And being able to monitor and make sure that they were doing a fantastic job while they were having a good time. And I will say, even myself included, Legoland's a fun place to be, even if you're an adult or even if you're a student. And so even the adults had a good time going to Legoland as well. So one thing that I did want to highlight from the staff and the students is the coordinator that we were working with as we were planning the field trip. She was very impressed at just the organization and just the the way that we had scheduled things and we had set up things for our students, she gave us a lot of compliments because she hadn't seen that in a long time. The way that we had our kids structured in groups, the way that the schedule. Now, mind you, the Legoland is a self-paced type of facility, so they don't provide a schedule that you go here at this time, you go here at this time. We had to create that, and I do want to give a shout out to my counselor, Ms. Pareles. She was able to work on developing a schedule that was going to be able to be followed, and really and truly, it rolled off without a hitch. It was a very, very good opportunity to be able to have the kids attend Legoland, and again, near perfect. I was very, very proud of them. What we've learned from this journey, one thing that we've learned is that students enjoyed this type of structure of summer school. It's very, very, very good and rewarding to have a kid that walks up to you and say that they're having a great time. Even as I would go in during the breakfast time or the lunchtime, and I'd ask them, hey, what did you do today? And they would tell me with a big smile on their face that they had so much fun building and working with the robotics when we had a robotics rotation, that they loved doing the arts and crafts that we were able to have for them, that they would love doing the obstacle course challenge that we had in the gym for them. And we don't get that all the time, and it's something that sometimes we have to motivate the kids. We got to tell them, you can do it. We got to give them the ganas, right, to motivation to be able to help them do their learning. And I didn't have to do a lot of that this summer, and it was really, really, really an awesome feeling because I know that the kids were wanting to be here and the kids were wanting to take part. So one thing that we have always known is students will work for something. It's our mission to figure out what that something is. And once we figure out what it is, it's our job to also incorporate that into our schooling and their learning. So that's another thing that we're going to be able to have is based off of some of the high interest rotations that we've had for Summer Academy. We're going to try to develop clubs and be able to have opportunities to be able to have those kids that had an awesome time during this year's Summer Academy and expand on those things and give them the opportunity to be able to participate because they had a great time. I think they're going to have more learning and a great time doing things after school in a club format as well. So we're looking at doing some of those things. And then one of the things that, again, always reflective back, because this was the first opportunity for us to do Summer Academy, we've learned some things about the structure and the scheduling. We can make some minor tweaks. We can do some minor changes. There was some things that we didn't know until we knew. In terms, we had to be having to give it a shot and give it a try before we were able to make some changes. And so I think going into next year, we'll be able to have where we recognize that the planning, now that we have an idea of what it could be, now that we have an idea of what it could look like, planning and preparing a little bit earlier is going to be able to help us out a lot. So that's going to be something too. And then as I mentioned, that robotics, definitely something that was a high interest. We're going to be looking at developing that into a robotics club and even working with Mr. Ramirez, our science teacher. I'd like to even find competitions for our kiddos to be able to do and to be able to work. I'll put our kiddos up against any other elementary that's out there. I feel that confident about our kids and their ability to be able to learn and to be able to work hard and have fun doing it. So that was a big motto, working hard and having fun, making sure that they understood that. We're going to work hard, but we're going to have a good time doing that. And even trying to convince the staff and the adults on that too. Sometimes the staff kind of gives you that look of, what, you want me to have fun at work? It's not supposed to be fun at work. No, very much so. We can have a good time and we can work hard doing it. So being able to have that. So, and then the last thing I want to mention is continuing our mission with social emotional learning. We've recognized that throughout this year, very much a need for social emotional learning supports. Reaching the whole child, trying to be able to understand and trying to be able to work with children no matter what they come with, no matter where they've been, no matter what kind of things are in their way. Having the mantra and the mindset of the world is always set up to be able to be stacked against us at times, but we can't look at the world with problems and challenges. We have to look at the world with opportunities and be able to find opportunities to be able to help serve our students and our community, and that's our mission. That's what we're going to be able to go for. So in closing, I had a fantastic time. I know our students and our staff members did. If you have any questions that you have for me, I'd love to answer any questions that you may have.
Keep it up, sir. Doing a great job.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you both.
Ms. Harris?
Good evening, Madam Board President and members of the board. So just as a reflection on our summer school, I'm thinking back to when all of this got started. We've been reading a book called Innovator's Mindset with our administrative team, and it talks a lot about engagement and empowerment as well. When we look at the summer academies, I really felt like it was an opportunity for empowerment, right? We were kind of said, dream up of what you can think of to make sure that this summer academy will be fun, engaging, and also a learning opportunity for students. And that's exactly what we did. We went to our students, asked them, hey, what would make summer academies fun for you? And then we also asked our staff, well, what are some of your interests that you can bring in that will be engaging, fun for students, and also provide them with a learning opportunity? And so some of the big takeaways that came out of the Summer Academy were the fact that we would be able to use community resources to educate our students, and then also study beyond the classroom, take a field trip to the Space Center. Our city librarian, Ms. Hedetta, she quickly turned around an average reading program. We came in and said, hey, we just want to have summer reading for the students. Well, she turned it around, challenged our students to read 10 books each in a 3-week time period. She also provided them with incentives, and then even at the end of the program, she, with a grand finale, brought in a storyteller from the movie Miss Congeniality. It's a British storyteller, and she came in and did 2 or 3 books for the students for a finale program. So it was amazing to see students who, at the beginning, were kind of unsure, if I'm going to read during the summer. But by the end, by golly, they were reading. She had them participating in various activities. So that was a nice addition to just a basic reading program for the summer. Also, we had the opportunity to visit the Houston Space Center. This was amazing because we had to paint a picture to students that wasn't necessarily right in front of them, right? So we're pitching them something, okay, we're gonna do some science, we're gonna do some math, you're gonna get a little bit of history in here as well. So we're pitching an idea to them that, they hadn't seen or weren't sure about how it would turn out. But the staff really pulled together. Ms. Adams, my science teacher, she was kind of my expert there. She zoomed into all classrooms, so we were able to use Zoom in a different capacity. She did the Marquez reading strategy with students, so they were reading articles. Prior to us going to the Space Center, they were doing math activities and also having to do some historical perspectives on the Space Center and just space exploration in general. So that was a high point for us. For our summer camp, we averaged around 85 students per day, with 97 being our highest number for attendance. So we did very well to have 85 students. That's about 50% of the middle school population. So as we move forward, we really look to having these opportunities, not only for after-school enrichment, but also some Saturday opportunities as well, and seeing where we can get teachers to do some of these things during the day through some of our social-emotional activities. So we were very excited. During our trip to the Space Center, we did have one hiccup. We had one bus. We had some mechanical issues. And this was a real interesting moment, but we had been in contact with our parents from the point where we left. The entire trip, we were sending remind messages. And the messages that I received back at that time were prayers for you guys. We can't wait for the bus to get back up and going. Just tons of messages about praying and prayers for our students and for the safety of the staff on the trip. So that was another highlight, just to have all of that outpouring from the community at that time. I was getting direct messages that's coming in one after the other, so I did want to mention that. One of the other things or big takeaways from all of this, though, is relationships. And that's kind of where we started out at, because we wanted to truly provide an opportunity to re-engage students at school. And students, they showed up and they came. They came out to participate. They had a chance to socialize a little bit more. I saw them, kind of opening up more than what we had during the normal school year. And also just the opportunity for the extended learning activities. We were able to have the enrichment activities. We were able to have the Cricut machines. Students were in there cutting out the materials. They were having to use measurement. They were using math in order to make that T-shirt or that mask that they wanted to wear. They were also participating in other activities like gaming, health and wellness, and then other arts and crafts activities. So there was a lot of still just core activities embedded within those enrichment classes, which was interesting to see. It was a really good opportunity. Overall, I have learned that we do need to continue programs like these for our students. It will help us also drive students to interventions if we can continue to make it a little bit fun for them, right? Have something that they really want to come and receive the information that we're providing for their education. And then the forefront for next school year, again, will be relationships, continuing those communications with our parents, and then also providing these opportunities for our students. Are there any questions at this time?
Thank you. Ms.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harris.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Castro. I want to say thank you to you and Dr. Castro, first of all. Without your support, summer school, summer academy would not have been possible. Your approving the expenditures to fund this program was very appreciated. Our kids enjoyed it. You can tell from the elementary, middle school, their kids enjoyed it as well. So I want to say thank you. I want to start off there. For us, we had average about 82 students attending per day with a high number of 92. We expected 98 to be on campus. Our first day was our lowest number. It got better after that. But on the first day, I want to share with you a conversation I had with the students there. Although I was very appreciative and happy that they showed up, almost 70 kids or 98 they're supposed to be there, showed up. I told them they should not be there to begin with. It's their summer. They need to enjoy it. And so next year, I challenged them to do better and not to be in the situation again, to work harder from day one, come to school, keep your attendance up, keep your grade up, so that you're not in this situation again next summer. So I challenged them a little bit, and even the teachers there, about raising their instruction, but also the students, but raising their effort and attendance and grades. So next year, we do have a summer academy. It'll be less academic and more fun, and have those kind of engaging activities. Some of the positive for us has been the attendance. The attendance for high school kids was great through the whole summer academy. I was really surprised and happy with that. Normal summer school versus summer academy, we would have maybe 30 to 40 kids come in, which would be 50% of the kids needed to come. Here we're sitting in the low 80s, which is really, really good. I was really happy for that. That was the good positive. Some of the key takeaways that we have, one, it's the inspiration we got from this idea, this concept of a summer academy, and having some innovative ideas and some flexibility. So we come up with some different ideas to start school differently, not the traditional come into school and do your first period, second period, third period. We have some activities planned for our students. I'm not going into detail because I want to be surprised. I know we're live. So we're going to have some fun engagement activities through the morning, along with some informational sessions. So it's going to be a treat when they come to school on that first day. They're going to be surprised. We're going to have some nice little things for them. In terms of progress, I mean, that's one thing we're worried about. Looking at our academic progress, we had about 80 to 85% of our students show progress in Algebra 1, Biology, and English. So it's pretty good compared to our first test to our post-test. So I was really impressed with the academic progress with those kids. That's what I have right now, unless you have any questions for me.
Thank you so much. Madam President, members of the board, if I could just briefly sum up with my gratitude to our principals and staff, our teachers as well. What we challenged them with was, let's not call it summer school. Most people don't have a good experience when you talk about summer school. Let's change the name. So we changed it to Summer Academy. The second big challenge or charge was, let's make it fun. It's been a difficult year for everyone. Let's interject some creative, fun things, and then let's see what we can learn about continuing that fun throughout the year and integrating it the entire year. So I really appreciate Mr. Martinez, Mrs. Harris, and Mr. Solis for working very hard on making those things happen, and then learning from that and being able to reproduce some of that as we move forward. So again, guys, thank y'all so much. I appreciate your great work. I know you were tired, but I know it charged you up, and a lot of the teachers were charged up as well as our students on wanting to come up and be there for Summer Academy. Looking forward to this next school year and then again next summer. Again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And keep up the good work. Laura, are they free to go?
Yes, ma'am. Principals, y'all can stay or you can go. We have 2 more items and then executive session, so whatever you need to do.
Okay, next item, we have our budget workshop.
Yes, ma'am. Madam President, members of the board, I want to begin by thanking Debbie Cloth. She has assisted us as her schedule's allowed and has been instrumental in helping us move through this process. What you now have is a much closer iteration about where we believe we are and where we're going. Want to begin with the top of the page there that you have. Last year's amended budget, local revenues, as you can see, $12,420,410. The projected amount of revenue for this year is $11,228,202. That's about $1,192,208 less. Why so much less revenue? The biggest part of that is the billions of dollars of equipment that's been moved out of for oil drilling. So that's no longer in taxation. So that's the biggest chunk of that revenue loss for local budget. As you can see from the state revenue, $1,202,078. Last year's amended budget from state revenue, we're looking at about $1,099,000 in state revenue, primarily due to a lower enrollment. And then under the next one, federal revenue, we have a little bit of an uptick there, about $41,000 more. If you look at the totals there, last year, total revenue, $13,908,288. Projected revenue at this juncture, $12,655,421, which is $1,252,867 less. So as you can see from just that revenue part, we're a little over $1.2 million under projected revenue for the upcoming year. Expenditures, primary expenditure payroll. Last year, $9,367,391. Projected payroll with your 3% raise that you gave, $8,850,159. Why is that lower with a pay raise? We've moved a little over $500,000 in salaries into ESSER funding for payroll. So that's why there is a lot less there in payroll, even with the 3% raise. The next expenditure, contracted services, $3,351,477. This year, contracted services are projected to be a little bit slightly lower at $3,442,587. Under general supplies and materials, you see $824,121. Our projected budget for that line code will be $657,455. Operating expenses, a little bit higher. It's from $709,226 to about $767,950.
Why the difference in
So-
in so much operating?
So, great question. So if you go up to contracted services and supplies and materials, there are a couple things that we did. We did not increase the budget for any of our departments. We kept it flush with 2019. And then some of those costs will also be offset with ESSER funding. So some of the material supplies, instructions, contracts for closing the gap, we'll cover that with ESSER funding. And then with the operating expenses, that includes 2 air conditioning units. So that's why that goes up a little bit. There are 2 units that are holding on by dear life. So that's why the operating expenses increased there on that piece. Good question.
Central units or window, what do we call them?
They're building air conditioning units, but
Are they older units?
yes, ma'am, they're older units.
Where?
Let me get that to you, Mr. Aranda. He told me which ones they were, but,
Older AC units
It's not the ones we replaced.
in the school district?
yes,
Really?
correct. That's
I
correct.
mean, like,
Would have to be the old,
Elementary.
because everything else was
everything
new.
is brand new?
Yeah.
I mean,
We'll get that, let me get that to you in writing, sir. Which units?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, there are two old ones.
Cafeteria?
yeah, but they're not that old. 3, 4? 4 years?
We'll just get this, the
We'll
information.
get that
I'm
to you.
curious.
Sorry, I don't have the, but those are the units.
And there's 2 of them.
Yes, ma'am. And then the
So,
debts,
you're
Go ahead.
saying you're gonna replace those, or you replace those?
replace.
You replace them?
Yes, sir. And of course, there's still time to talk about that. We'll get that information to you, and as you desire, we could have Mr. Aranda present as well, as why we believe the need is a high need at this time. The next one, the debt service, one more payment on the bleachers at $52,138. And then capital outlay at $62,000. If you look at the difference in expenditures, last budget season, $14,397,388. Projected expenditures this year at $13,832,289.
But that does not include ESSER funds.
The ESSER funds are being expended in a large part in there.
But that 13.8,
Yeah, so the payroll, there's ESSER funds that are going to be used in the payroll to keep the payroll down. Also in
so it's actually, okay. So do we see the ESSER funds on payroll?
Incorporated in there where we can see where they're
No.
actually affecting those dollar amounts.
yes. So at last year's budget of 9.3 million would have actually gone up with the 3% raise.
That's what I'm saying. So it's actually more than 8.8, but we don't see that number because you're using ESSER funds.
Correct.
That was my question.
Yes, sir, that's correct. That's correct.
Can we have a breakdown of how much
Well, what, I see here,
I mean,
on the bottom note,
it would have been higher if we would have?
This is ESSER grant, 276,000.
Yeah, that was ESSER 1. That one's expended. That was from a year ago.
We already spent that.
Yes, sir.
But you don't have figures for the others.
We are in the process of applying for both of those grants. Those,
I thought we already received those funds.
no, we haven't received them. The deadline to apply is July 30th, or July 30th. So
We haven't done that yet?
we're finalizing the application. Yes, sir.
So we haven't done that?
No, we have not finalized the
And
application.
that's like how many millions? Do you remember off the top of your head?
Yes, for ESSER 3, it should be about 3.1 million.
2.1.
And then ESSER 2 should be about a little over $1 million.
So you're looking at about anywhere about 4 million.
Correct.
4.2?
And we'll backfill those in as soon as we finish our application. We should be done, we're hoping to be done with the ESSER application this week.
But yet, we're still estimated as a deficit.
Yes, ma'am, that's where we are now.
Do you know how much ESSER funds you're using for those expenditures, for 13.8? It's actually more than 13.8, correct? We're spending more money than, because you say you supplemented with ESSER funds.
Correct. We're going to move, for next year, we're going to move some salaries into ESSER. Correct.
Until you get your solid numbers on the grant 2 and 3.
No, he has that number.
Not 2 and 3.
No, but how much we're paying for payroll?
Yeah, we've already identified people that we're gonna be paying under ESSER funding. That's right. Debbie, do you have an estimate for how much, is it $500,000, Debbie?
Yes, sir. On your ESSER, it's just so that we can get a real clear picture of exactly where we are and what is the actual dollar amount. For the true number.
Okay, so your ESSER 1 grant, it's a Fund 266. And so what we can do is we can run these for you so you can see what they are. Your ESSER 3 is going to be Fund 282. And we've already, and it was 500 and something that we moved over to the ESSER 3 grant. And so,
I'll be very honest with you, you said for 252?
282.
Okay, I'll be honest with you, I have no idea what that means.
You know how right now we're looking at your local budget and it's 199? That's your fund number. And so in 199 is the budget that y'all are going to approve for the general operating budget. And that's the money you're getting from taxpayers' money and the little bit of money you get from the state. So that is your 199 budget. So then you have these federal programs, Title I, Part 2, which is a 211 fund. So y'all don't see all those other funds. They go by whatever they fill in for the grant, and then however TEA approves it, it comes over. So for y'all, you're getting the 199, your general operating. You're getting your 240 and 242, which is your cafeteria, and you're getting your 599 for your debt. And those right now are the three funds that y'all approve for your general operating. That is basically with taxpayers' money. Now, because Dilley is considered a wealthy school district now, we are going to be paying back for this year, next month, August, $2 million. It was $1.9 million, but I looked at the,
This is the 2021 fee, right?
yes, the 21, yes, sir. The 2021 is going to be $2 million. It went up. I went to TEA's website today. If you go to TEA's website, you go to the alphabet, the letter alphabet, and you go to S, and you go to Summary of Finance. You can go in there and you can ask for the school district, you can ask for the year, and you can ask what report you want. So if you go look at cost of,
And why the increase if it was at one?
Missed students and enrollment is down.
they're actually going by the amount of tax money that you receive. So what they go by, years ago, they did that Robin Hood, then they came up with, when the TEA revamped their finance, what they did is they said every child will have a certain amount to educate that child. No matter if you're a rich district, poor district, whatever, you're going to be allowed that amount. So if a wealthier, which I don't consider us wealthy, but because of the money you're getting from LaSalle County, we are now considered a wealthy district. So the money that we get that's more than they say what we should have for the number of our kids, you pay it back to TEA.
So we
Yeah.
really don't see that because we're having to turn around and
You're
pay it
turning
back.
around and paying it back, yes.
But yet somehow we're penalized for it.
Yes.
Poor luck.
Yes, and so now we understand how the richer districts felt when they kept saying, well, gosh, we're having to cut a music program because we have to send money to y'all and y'all don't have money, and you're thinking, yeah, but we don't even have that music. So now we see both sides
Yeah.
of it. So that's what it is. And it was gonna be $1.9 million, and apparently, when budget was getting prepared last year, it was gonna be $1.5 million, because that's what we have in the budget. But that's not what TEA is telling us we're gonna have to pay, and we're gonna have to pay that in August. So we'll pay that. What they're showing right now, if you go in there to 21-22 and you go to cost of recapture, it's showing $1.6 million, which is what we have in the budget to pay back. And it's a big amount, and I wish.
Yeah, if you're going from 1 million to 1.622, I mean, that's,
Yeah,
That's a
it's,
big
and
fee.
that's what they're saying. They just did it on I wanna say 7/6. I might be wrong on the date, maybe it was 7. But it's the last report they had, and we were looking at, okay, we're gonna have to do the $1.9 million,
so,
but now it's $2 million.
so these numbers, these function codes that you're using, those are new function codes based on this ESSER grant.
The fund.
The fund.
Yes, ma'am. So in 282, so all of the federal monies that we have a 211, we have a 255, we have a 270, you have a 266, you have a 282. There's a lot of these federal program fund numbers that you have. And if you want to see a list of that, we can run it for you, and we can show everything there so you can see. If you wanted to see a complete what is your total payroll, all funds,
Yeah.
then we can get that for you. We
Yeah,
just
'cause
have to
that's-
run the 6100s
We've
for
kind
you.
of gotten used to Ms. Bendeley when we've asked that she provide
Yeah,
a
we
breakdown.
suspect about that
Yeah.
high. And it just-
Yes.
Sometimes we get time to go through it, sometimes we don't, it depends, but just back to the ESSER, year 2, which is the upcoming school year, 21-22, what would be the revenue we're getting from this?
Well, what we were going to do is divide it because it's a 3-year grant.
Yes.
And so what we were going to do is kind of divide it by 3 years. And this amount for this year, this
So how much
amount for
over,
this.
because we already used the first year, that we're gonna
It's,
divide it.
it's like 3 million too, I thought Steve had said. I would feel more comfortable looking at it before I tell you because we work a lot.
But the 3.2, I thought was the total for getting.
4.
No, that one was for 3.
But that's freshman 3. That's freshman.
It's about 4.1. So.
Yeah,
what
I
we
think
looking
it's-
at to divide it for the second year, what we're getting from the school year.
So the ESSER 2 funds have a 2-year life, so we have to expend the ESSER 2 funds over 2 years. The ESSER 3 funds can be expended over 3 years. So the plan is, we have a little bit more leeway over the first 2 years, but then keep enough in the last year to begin rolling people off the ESSER funds the second year and third year, so that we don't have salaries there, so we don't get caught trying to capture salaries in the end. I'm sorry, essentially, stretch the dollars over a 3-year budget versus trying to spend it all right off the bat.
So for school year 21-22, how much of salaries are you gonna pay out of the year?
So right now, we have a little over $500,000 in salaries.
And how about for year 3? Or is that 22-23?
So the goal then would be probably 200,000 or less in the third year.
Because what I'm worried about is what we've been doing 4 years from now, is when we still have the same amount of time more salaries, and yet we run out of the extra time.
Yeah, and that's where the planning has to continue. Then with the third year, as we move salaries off, we use the remaining money to offset other expenditures, material, supplies, training, et cetera, and then work on keeping some of the local dollars, hopefully moving money into the fund balance. So that way, we're not offset with how many people are shocked getting back into the system.
Yes, that's for the 21-22 year. That's for the,
That's what we're projecting
that's the
for next
year in
year.
the budget right now that we put in. If you go there, sir, yeah, and you ask for 20, yeah, this year right here, and then if you go down, it's going to show the 2,001,022, which we, at the last time, we had the 1,942, which is what we were thinking we were going to have to pay.
So ultimately, what does this Esther grant really do for us in the, I mean, other than moving the monies kind of to offset cost in present time, but then it's kind of like Renee mentioned, then what happens when you've already gone over the past 3 or 4 years? I mean, I understand the moving and
The salary's still gonna be there.
yeah.
Well, that's absolutely right. So the biggest part of ESSER funds are to ensure that there are adequate resources for closing the achievement gap, accelerate learning. So that's the biggest goal behind it. There is a latitude in how we define that to include personnel, to include training, to include tutoring, et cetera. So a lot of the things that we might have paid out of pocket with local funds or other funds, these funds will be available for that opportunity in coverage for the next 3 years. At the end of the 3 years, that fourth year, that is going to be one that's going to really take some careful planning. And because as you stated, there will be salaries that will continue to be there. Contingent on how many students we have, we're going to need to make decisions going into that fourth year on priorities. So that's what we'll need to take a look at this juncture, to include attrition as people retire, or might there be opportunities to not replace certain positions. Do that over 3 years as opposed to try to do it just on the third year. There are, I'll give you one quick example. We have one custodial vacancy right now. It's still vacancy. We haven't filled it. We're not dying. We're keeping up with the work. At some point, if we lose another custodian, would that be an opportunity to maybe augment a couple custodian salary because they have more work, but then we save 2 salaries? We bump you up, we bump 2 custodians up by X amount, but then we save 2 salaries and the benefits. So that's the long-term plan under payroll, essentially, is looking at I shouldn't say non-critical, positions that we might have some flexibility. Obviously, with teachers, that's not a possibility, but you know what is a possibility? Are there opportunities to increase class sizes so that we do save a teacher? Where they're not too big, but they're bigger. Folks, that's going to have to be a serious consideration. Increasing class sizes over the next 3 years. Again, not all at the end, but slowly planning carefully to ensure that there's opportunities to save money before we get to that fourth year.
So I'm still kind of like baffled with this ESSER stuff. I mean, it seems like it offers us an opportunity financially to get us out of like current situations or tight areas where we're, we can move payroll, certain payrolls, offset it by this deal. But in the long run, it can come back and really catch us later. So is it really worth?
Yes, because it gives us 3 years to get there and plan for it. If we didn't have the funding now, we would have to make some serious cuts. We would have to make some serious cuts at a time when our kids are furthest behind academically. So with this amount of money, we're going to have a little bit of reprieve to plan, to catch up on some learning, and then to make adjustments on expenses over 3 years as opposed to doing it right away.
I'm guessing that this ESSER grant basically gives up and kicks the can down the road.
So, have we used any ESSER funds for anything other than payroll?
Not at this juncture. We don't have anything yet, but when we get the funding, that's the biggest part of the plan for the budget coming up. But there will,
How much was, that's the first one, how much was it again?
let us get that, let us get you exact numbers. And
The budget meeting, Doctor, we should have this information. I mean, the fact that we're here for the last two budget workshops, and every question we ask, we're saying, well, I'm gonna get that information for you, to me, almost unacceptable. I mean, this is information in the past, we've had it, but we can get it like that. I understand that we're in transition now between the old and the new business manager and the new superintendent, but to me, it's this, we're having a budget workshop and we're totally unprepared for what we need to do. And that's just, I'm voicing my opinion on that.
Well, we can run, I mean, I can go if, you can set me up a computer. I can run 266 for y'all, and I can run 282, whatever's showing right now.
And that's the funding from ESSER.
Yes, sir.
And that tells us how much.
The 266 is the ESSER one, yes, that has already been spent. Well, yeah, I don't know if all of it's been spent, but yes, 266 has been in there, and 282 is ESSER 3, the new one, that does have payroll in 500 and something thousand for,
21, 22.
yes, sir.
But the thing is, we're projecting to spend money in 21, 22 that we haven't even completed the application for to get those money, correct?
Well, and what they did is they went back and said they have a provision in these grants that you can go ahead and start spending them, even though it's not finished, which is very unusual because usually they don't do that till you have on the dotted line that they've approved it. But in these cases, they've sent them out and they said, no, all you have to do, you can go back and use them from this date on.
But how do you project exactly how much you're gonna spend when you really don't know what that ESSER 2 is gonna be?
Well,
I mean, how,
right now, we're not doing ESSER 2. Right now, the ESSER 1, the 266 is already in play. It's been in play this year.
which is
This
that
one-
ESSER 1?
The ESSER 1. The ESSER 3 came out before the ESSER 2, which is really strange, but 3 came out first, and 3 is the one that will get him the largest amount of money, that's for 3 years, that Steve is putting in the amounts, because you have to do it by algebra code. You have to show what you're wanting in 61s, what you're wanting in 62, 63, 64, et cetera. And so that's what he's putting in. But they had, the deadline is.
July 30th.
And so he's got most of it in there. I don't know if he has all of it because I don't go in every day, so I'm not really sure. But I do know that we did do salaries with 282, so there would not be as much money coming out of your operating fund balance, which you already are gonna have money coming out of your fund balance. Unless something happens and we don't end up, spending as much in there. I know that they are wanting to look at 282 and do a lot of things that technology needed that we don't have in the budget, and things that we can use that money for.
I guess that's where it's, until we get that in front of us now, it'd be easier for us to be able to see where.
See all the funds and
Yes,
where
because
everything's
right now
going.
you're talking these codes, and without able to
Sorry.
see it, no, I know, and you've got a 2-pager here. It's not a real breakdown of all the monies, what's projected, and what those projections are that you're gonna be using to put in
But-
that ESSER 3?
But your budget that you're approving, is the 199 budget.
But we're using funds from another.
You are, to help with
but we-
payroll
but
and
we-
stuff.
But the thing is, we don't know how much money we have to spend on those.
So every year, do you get 211, do you get the Title I part, do you get all of the federal?
Yeah, it's a big old stack that she would provide.
Of everything,
Yes,
every
ma'am.
fund, no
And then
matter
with
what the fund is.
It has like high school football.
Yeah,
team on it,
everything, a breakdown of everything.
and the payroll.
Job, position.
Boys baseball,
Yeah.
25, girls softball,
I mean,
2,500.
everything.
So it's the list of showing, I mean, I have, I have this for the 199 budget that's detailed, that's broken down by code. I mean, I don't know if y'all want copies of that, but if you want copies of all funds, we can get that for you. I did not realize that y'all wanted that.
That's usually when we have these budget workshops, and I understand you're only coming part-time, and I think, Dr. Castro and I had talked about possibly getting you to come in more often if that's what we needed to get this thing taken care of. We spoke that, about 2 weeks ago. Whatever it takes to get this thing wrapped up and put together so that we have a better understanding where the money's being spent, how it's being spent, and where these codes, where it's going in these different codes. And usually Ms. Bendeley, would have 2 or 3 workshops prior to us adopting this thing, and we would already know, okay, these are the different line items, as you say, that are going to be affected. These are where the increases are. This is where this is changing. This didn't change. You had a better idea of
Right.
where the money is being spent.
Right, right. So, let me show you this is only 199 though. It's only 199. But we can get that for all funds
Yeah,
for
this
y'all,
is-
if that's what you want.
Yeah,
But this was
is
just
basically what she would, but it was the entire thing.
every
Yeah,
fund,
Exactly, it wasn't just the 190.
okay.
So if you can provide
And
that
also,
to
let me
us.
give you an explanation to why we like it.
Mhm.
Because in years past, a softball parent may say, how come you're not spending as much money on the girls softball as you're on the boys baseball? And as board members, we say, well, hold on, we approved the budget, and if you look at it, participation is not more in baseball, there's less girls in softball per capita, we're actually spending more money. We can defend the position on know what you're asking, whatever, whoever's telling you whatever information is not true, because when we approve a budget, we win. We knew what the football budget was. Now that we get down to nuts and bolts of how many helmets, shoulder pads, no, that's up
Right.
to the departments, but we knew, we had an idea, because remember, you're explaining a $13.8 million budget to
Right.
people who are not accountants.
Right.
So by no means I'm going to sit here and say I totally
Right.
understand everything,
Right.
but after doing it a while, you get an idea.
And if you go to, okay, your function numbers are your next 2 numbers. So if you go to 36, you're going to see all this right here. It's going to show how much the boys are getting, how much the girls are getting. You're going to see all that. But that's only in the 199. But yes, we can run you all funds. If this is what you want, we can run you all funds, and you can see what the total payroll is in all funds. Because really, if you do want to see all funds, you do have people in payroll in all those other funds.
Exactly, and that's where we would kind of know who's being paid under what it was that they were doing, why they were in that classification or line, whatever you want to call it. And you had a better understanding of the breakdown, as opposed to a 2-pager here, that doesn't really provide a whole lot of information other than
Right,
what we see here.
right. Well, we can get you that, and in fact, if you want me to, I can run you that stuff right now, unless you want to wait till your next meeting.
So the-
You tell me what you want.
I guess today is the budget workshop, right?
Yeah, it's
So
a-
we're gonna about just the overall budget?
You were going to talk about the general budget. And I'm so sorry, I didn't know that y'all look at everything. In Pearsall, they only look at the 199, the 240, 242, and 511, unless you have a building fund, and then that's.
That's correct. In the last 4 districts I was at, it was not, we focused on 199. We'll certainly bring back more comprehensive one, so.
What I don't want is an opportunity to have, $5 million and only spend it on payroll.
Right. No, it's not all in payroll. Do you want me to make a copy of those so all of y'all can have one of that?
Yeah,
Y'all can
yes,
look at
please,
it?
uh-huh.
There are restrictions to the funding. Minimum 20% has to be direct instruction for kids. So, yeah, it can't all be payroll.
It cannot be paid.
Cannot be on payroll.
So right now, we haven't spent any money unless there are other than.
Correct. That's all we have targeted at this point for next year. If we're looking at $1 million in change from year one, ESER three, that's about half of it. But I'll bring back a full comprehensive view of all funds, including federal.
Anybody else have any other questions?
For 199 it is. This is our general budget. The second page, it breaks down the expenditures by function. There you see instruction at 5.6 million, instructional resources. And then I will highlight down at, again, function 91, 1.649 million, 484,000 is what we're projecting for recapture for next year.
That's the number that I just saw.
Correct. And that's a big dollar amount
And
there.
the number next to that, $1,900, that's how much an hourly is per kid.
Correct.
Yeah. Do you have a total for that? What, how much, out of the whole budget, how much we're spending average per student? Have you ever broken down for function?
On the right side, cost per student, that indicates expenditure by function per student.
Yes, sir, but if, the total budget was 13.8, would you have that broken down, what we're spending per student?
Oh,
Like 50?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but we still need to approve it, 21-22 budget,
correct,
and that's gonna be, I guess, sometime in
August,
August.
after we get certified values. Madam President, if it pleases the board, we can work on getting this to you ahead of time with all budgets.
You guys are trying to run those papers right now?
Well, I asked her if there's any way she's got an electronic version that she could just, email it to us. That's what she have access to a laptop here. If not, you'll have to go run over there and make copies. Y'all want to wait, or you want her to go and get copies now? What do y'all prefer?
I'd like a hard copy, sometimes at work, I have a couple
Yeah.
hours down, and I
Do you
think
want me
it
to go
would be.
make the
Please,
copy?
Debbie, if you don't have access to a electronic version of that, then if you don't mind just making copies so that we can get that. Please, ma'am. Okay, thank you.
Is Trevino supposed to be here today?
Yes, sir. She is actually a new budget manager training in Austin.
Oh.
Yes, sir.
Before you have, I have a question about the budget, and about what we did last week, or Tuesday. I was just, I don't know, I apologize for this, the first part of it, and I think I missed some important stuff you covered. And you talked about there was a certain group that was way behind the percentage, right?
Correct.
I think something where they're 28% underpaid, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and then you had mentioned if they're below, I think you said 15%, that we should adjust their pay, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So if they were, so we wanted to bring them back to the middle, right? So if they're at 28% below pay, then we increase their salary by 3%. So instead of 28, so now they're only 25% underpaid? Does that make sense? Is that right?
If they were 28%, potentially, yeah, they're still at
So if you were targeting that group of individuals that were so far underpaid, right? That's what it means, right? They're
below median. It's,
Below median.
yeah,
So if they were that far behind, we specifically targeted certain people,
they were
right?
furthest behind.
Okay.
They were furthest behind.
Yeah, far behind, and we actually increased those, I think by 3% instead of 2%, something like that, right? But that only brings them up from like negative to minus 28 to 25. So they're still 25% under the median. Is that correct?
Yeah, yes, sir.
So if we're specifically targeting those groups of people because you identify them because they're underpaid by more than 50%, wouldn't we want to bring them up to at least that 50%?
That would be ideal if that's the will of the board. You already approved a 3%, an additional 2% would bring them up 5. But bringing them up all the way, I think, would be ideal. I did want you to see the potential deficit there. Yeah,
We already had a deficit, right?
right.
So I'm just trying to think, I went home that day and thought about that, but and I can't remember the exact percentage they were at.
Before we revisit that on the next time, I wanted you to see that, but absolutely.
Because me thinking about it, if we were targeting certain group of people who were so far under the median, and we gave them specifically a different increase than other people, but that still didn't bring them up to where,
To the median.
or even to where you said, if they're under this level, we need to target them. We didn't even bring them to that level. They're still behind, if they're, I think they're 50%, I think you said, or
Yeah, 10% or more, you gotta really look at. 50% for sure.
After we did that, we approved that motion, they're still beyond the 10%.
Yeah, so generally, districts don't approve 3%, greater than 3% increases, so that's why we're looking at least a 2% bump above that. But what you're saying, that would be perfect, if we could bring them all the way to median.
Or at least,
To the
that
15.
cutoff where you said,
The
if they're
10%.
below this number, then we need to address it, because we technically didn't address that issue you brought up. So they're still behind that 10% median.
Yeah, for some of them, that's absolutely correct.
But at this point, if we don't know what,
What numbers?
what numbers, how do we go, at this point, how do we move forward to say, okay, bring all those at least to the 15% median? I mean, without really knowing where we're gonna wind up as far as this deficit.
Correct.
We don't have hard numbers, is what's kind of hard to,
I thought you were gonna bring the number to us that the medium was gonna affect us. I mean, say, JB saying the 15% bring everybody up. I thought you were gonna bring that number back to us.
Yes, sir, and then what I wanted you to see is where we're estimating the deficit to be, and then circle back to see what you wanted to do with the rest of them. That was the big thing.
So we would have a deficit plus more.
Because not including the Esther fund, we already have a 1.1 million dollar deficit. So that's actually more because you're using the Esther fund
to offset.
to offset some of our, so it's actually, we're actually, if we didn't have an Esther fund, our deficit would have been a lot higher, we don't really know the number.
I predict you said, 500,000. You said 500,000?
He said it's more or less, but
Okay, but, I mean, still, without the thing about they get rid of these, this grant when it goes away, we would be at 1.6. I mean, by all means, it's ideal for us to be at least at, competitive with the market, but at this point, I don't see how we can be, trying to get up there. We address those, target those that were way behind like we did the last year. And I think at this point, we kind of drive on. I mean, remember, whatever budget we pass, it can be a budget passed running out of money from state. And, for those that were here in the lean years, when it was practically zero, and it was tough.
It was very tough.
And we look at the House bill, it hurt us more than anything.
I mean, I understand we need to approach this cautiously because we don't know. And without real hardcore numbers, it's hard to make those decisions. I mean, we want to be fair to everybody, I get it. But until we're presented with the actual hardcore number of where we are as far as the actual deficit number, maybe it's like you say, if at that point we want to change it up a little bit or help those others, by all means. I don't know, I'm a little leery. I'm with Renee on this one because we've had some tough years in the past and that didn't sit well with our folks. Makes it a little hard. And we certainly don't want to cut anybody or cut positions or anything like that. That's why it's a little bit misleading with these Esther funds. I mean, yeah, they're good right now, but in the long run, we have to really watch that. We don't want to have to come back and say, I'm sorry, we're going to have to cut you loose.
Dr. Costa, these ESSER funds, they're a federal fund that the state cannot redirect anywhere else.
Yes, sir, that is correct.
I know, back in the politics of it, remember when the last thing that's running where basically the federal government gets the schools, and the state said that we don't deduct that much from the state funds and the school because the federal. In other words, they took the stimulus money and back to the general fund without saying that they did. I mean, I was just kind of.
That's correct. The state really actually tried to do that with ESSER funds again this time. The federal government sent them a letter that says you cannot do that.
It's not going to be directed building the wall or nothing like that.
Right, correct. They've gotten a letter of
Hey,
details.
y'all think it's funny, but believe me, that's, I wouldn't doubt if they've already tried.
So, Madam President, members of the board, I will, and again, my apologies, I'm used to working 199 with an overview of federal, but we will bring to you the HVAC units, the ESSER breakdown. Once Steve finalizes and does the application, we will get those projection numbers from Steve there. And then a full packet of all funds to include all federal. And then we'll break it down further for you. Again, that's my apologies for that. We'll clean that up as quickly as possible.
So we would have to have another,
It was already scheduled for the 26th.
Okay.
We were going to have another one there. I don't think we'll have to have another one unless you all decide. We'll get that to you as quickly as possible so you have adequate time to look at it.
yeah.
But I don't think beyond the 26th we'll need another one, but
think so?
I don't think so, but it'll be your call.
But is that going to give you guys enough time, sir, to work through and gather all this information? Plug in these numbers to have a better?
Yes, ma'am. We're anticipating being able to submit the application this week. We're very close to finalizing the ESSER application. And then we'll have everything plugged in for you with some exactitude versus estimates.
What happens if, I heard two principals today mention social emotional learning. So have we budgeted any funds to help with SEL?
Yes, the new SEL coordinator position, as well as resources, supports, and trainings for SEL is part of the ESSER budget.
That's like so I'm guessing it's under a function that's already listed under here.
It's going to be under payroll.
Under payroll?
Yes, sir.
So,
It's going to be a 6,100.
6,100.
Now, I know in the past, some grant positions that were, or positions that were paid for out of grant money, basically those people that were hired at the time were under the understanding, at the end of this grant, you may or may not be having that position, like the ESL position, is that understanding there, or was that fully committed where it's full-time?
At this time, unless you all have a different will, that position is actually, the DAP teacher we already had is just a little augmented to include SEL training, supports, et cetera. So
We're not paying for it in the total.
no, we just added and then created different qualifications. And we actually have the interviews for that this week on Wednesday. So we're looking forward to that position.
And I hate getting into all the weeds, per se, but that person's going to service each campus, or only a certain campus?
They will service all three campuses, including the DAP, and they'll have the two assistants that they used to have previously as well that will be trained in SEL supports as well.
So, and I know this is getting off the top of the budget, but it's still the same thing. I guess, are you trying to implement like SEL lessons into the classroom, or what's our goal
Yes,
with SEL?
more SEL strategies, some lessons. We're trying to avoid a full curriculum, which basically says, teacher, here's the stuff, add it to everything you're trying to do. There are SEL strategies, social emotional learning strategies, resiliency, and restorative justice strategies that can be trained and taught that are very helpful to meet a kid's social emotional needs, and then give them strategies to not repeat the same behaviors. So that's going to be the charge of the new coordinator over DAP and SEL, as well as the two assistants that were already previously there.
Yeah, because we've been criticized for that actual it's just not servicing the kids like it should. It's a place this kid, I don't want him in the classroom, put him out there, and then, I'm sorry to say, those kids are not being serviced like they should.
You're absolutely right. I do appreciate Ms. Harris, who's taken the lead in the SEL piece for us, and ensuring that it's not just a dumping ground because I want this kid out. It's giving the students some strategies to not repeat it, some awareness of self and others, and then restorative justice. How do you fix what you broke, but in a way that's dignified? So, yeah, it can't be a dumping ground. It's got to, and then we're also looking at asking you to consider a modified student code of conduct that has a pre-referral process. The pre-referral process would basically mean this: instead of just sending a kid for punishment, we send them to get supports and strategies to not repeat it before you have to actually refer them and get him or her in there for 3 days, a week, a month, is going through some strategies and some reflection in SEL. There will be components for teachers and counselors, but we don't want to make it where the teacher has to teach all this, but rather the teacher has training on strategies that are integrated into the lessons. So again, I appreciate the board's patience. My apologies, you did not have everything that you desired today. We're a lot closer. We did at least get that estimated surplus deficit. And then I'll close with this, Madam President and members of the board, unless you have other questions at this juncture before I clean up further what I messed up today. Under contracted services recapture, 1.64 million. That amount of money, when we have an $11 million budget, is a lot of money. I do appreciate Mr. Rodriguez getting me into contact with some folks who could help potentially write and advocate for a bill for us to be considered in mitigating that recapture loss. I don't know if there's much hope there, guys, but it's worth a try. I learned something today that I did not know. When the state required a teacher pay raise, I understand there's only a few districts in the state that did not get assistance with that, and we're one of those. 4 or 5 districts?
3 or 4.
3 or 4 districts, and I was under the assumption it was because of recapture, but then I understand it was a recapture. It was the way the state formulas are funded. So I've got to research that further, because if it was not recapture and it was state formula funding, we actually have a legitimate shot of mitigating that recapture if it was due to the formula funding and not just recapture. Recapture will be hard to fight because it's statewide, but if it's formula funding, that's something that we actually might have a fighting chance on.
Just, since I know you weren't here, every district in the state will receive funds
For the teacher pay
for the
raise.
teachers. So we as a district, we still gave our teachers more money, but it didn't come from the additional funds from the state.
It came from us.
It came from us.
That's
So-
ridiculous.
So we still gave our staff and our teachers an increase, but it wasn't from the help from the state.
That
And
blows
we
my
did
mind.
get criticized for that. I do know that I got approached by local folks that asked why we didn't, when they had heard other districts did. It's just the way it was played out for us.
They just didn't understand.
Yeah.
Again, my apologies of members of the board. That's all we have at this juncture, but we'll get more comprehensive very quickly. You have my assurance.
I just, I forgot the name of that program where the teachers could potentially make so much money, like only 6 figures.
Yes, sir, it's TIA, Teacher Incentive Allotment. We have begun the process this spring on preparing. Just to give you a 30, and you're going to get a presentation on it, but to give you just a summary of it, you have to do 1 year preparation to even apply. This year will be our preparation year. Once you apply, the numbers for our district, a teacher will be able to make up to $26,000 more. So that actually would put you could be making as much more than your principal.
And that would come from
The
state funding? Or
state funding.
like a kind of a grant?
It's not a grant, sir. That's what makes it marvelous, and I use that word intentionally. It's an allotment. Teacher incentive allotment. It's not a grant. The difference between a grant and allotment is a grant you got to apply for, and maybe you get it, maybe you don't. Allotment is there. It's the money's been allotted. So it is there. We just have to jump through the 1 year hoop to qualify. See, God willing, after next year, that second year of ESSER funds, we're in that loop. That'll put us in a position to really be able to attract a lot of quality teachers, retain our teachers, and then reward our highest performing teachers.
Because it's based on the testing, is it not? Or, like, how does a teacher get?
So a couple things, and you'll get a full presentation on it, but part of it is T-test, your T-test observations. Part of it is student performance. And teachers will have an opportunity to become national board certified. That's a 3-year process. It's intense. If you become national board certified, you're going to get, at minimum, even if you blow it, you're going to get $6,000 a year from TIA, even if you don't do a great job. But national board certified, you're going to do a great job because it's rigorous. So there'll be different opportunities to get there. And so we got to take care of business and get through the process so we get the TI allotments. We've been working on that since January, so.
I'm guessing we is you and the principals?
The principals and myself, Mrs. Carroll, and now Mrs. Dubose is helping us spearhead that.
Hopefully we get it taken care of and an opportunity for our teachers.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
We don't have anything.
Not at this time. We do have one action item I need your approval on.
So we have a discussion and possible action on the regional day school MOU.
Yes, ma'am. Madam President, members of the board, this is an item that I do need your approval to enter into this MOU with the Regional Day School for the Deaf. We do have one elementary student and one high school student who will be participating this year. They do receive services from the Regional Day School. The cost of it is paid through the co-op. Yes, sir. It's the Regional Day School in Uvalde.
How does that work?
Mr. Solis, our high school student, is that person receiving services at the high school gets transported? At the high school? And then the elementary one, Mr.? As well. So services are provided in-house. But Mr. Aranda, in more extreme cases, they would be transported and services provided there at that regional day school.
The 2 girls that were already, they were talking about it.
Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the regional school day MOU as presented.
Motion's been made by Kay Smith.
Second.
Who said it? seconded by Frank
Real-
Torres.
Real quick, sir, next, we have discussion real quick on it? Well, because we're gonna make a motion to approve an MOU, but I don't see the MOU. Or is it just,
The wording that's there,
The,
the
I have-
actual
I have no
MOU is
idea
not
why.
attached.
I have no idea why it wasn't attached. I swore it was attached, board. I don't know why it wasn't a board. If you want to pass that.
I don't know if you saw that or not.
No, I swear it was attached on there. I don't know why I didn't get, Isabel had a copy, I had a copy. And,
I just don't want to be caught saying we're approving something that I never even saw that.
no, absolutely. And we'll email you 4 copies, or we can table and bring that. My apologies,
fine.
board.
I
I
don't
swore it
mind.
was
We can
on
go
there.
forward.
The services are part of the services that we've been part of for years. It's not a new MOU. We're required by law to provide services to the deaf. I'm not sure how long we've been part of the cooperative with the regional daycare in Uvalde, but it's the same contract that we've approved. But thank you, sir. I swore it was on there, but you're right, only the cover's in there.
But there's no dollar amount to pay for the co-op.
Yes, sir, no dollar amount, it's
It's the
paid through
same what
co-op.
we've been doing before.
It's the same, it's a renewal, yes, sir.
Yeah, because we have a motion and a second on the table already, so. All in favor? Motion passes.
Madam President, members of the board, we do have 2 brief items in executive session that I need to discuss with you.
All righty. At this time, we will convene into executive session at 7:57 PM. We will now reconvene back into open session at 8:45 PM. At this time, do I hear a motion? To adjourn? Motion's been made by Rene Alvarez, seconded by Ray Aranda. All in favor? None opposed. Meeting adjourned at 8:45 PM.